Hey there, beautiful James Show listeners. Where's the party? The first debate that they had back in June, it was great. We met at Bottle Rockets in Plano. We played bingo. But now that we have the calendar being solidified for the debates coming up, let's find another party. Unless you're already having a party, let me know. If not, I think we'll just go do it at Bottle Rockets again. But if someone else, if your event, if you're, I don't know, your church or your book club or your gun club or I don't know, the local Libertarian Party of Collin County or whoever, whatever your group is, if y'all are having a debate watching party, let me know. Maybe I'll just jump in on it. My next guest, though, is going to take on an issue that I'm super interested in, and I don't know why. This doesn't affect me at all, but just legally speaking, how much say-so do you have over what the property next to you does is sort of the philosophical backing of this issue. It manifests itself in Fairview, just east of Anna, kind of the McKinney area, where the Mormons, the Church of Latter-day Saints, and I don't mean that as a slur calling them Mormons, it's just the vernacular of our day. The Mormons want to build a temple, and not just a regular temple. They want to build a big temple, a huge temple, and they want it to have a giant architectural spire. It's going to be 16 stories high. The building itself, 65 feet high, the spire, 173 feet up in the air. And some citizens in Fairview came in, rallied, and fought the Mormon church as they tried to get an exception to the rules. And let's see where it stands now. Welcome, the mayor of Fairview, Texas, Henry Lessner, to the James Show. Is my summary, first of all, welcome to the show. Is that a pretty good summary? Do I have all my facts in a row so far?
Yes, sir. Pretty close, except where we're located. We are up 75 on the east side. We are just, our city to our south is Allen, and our city to the north is McKinney. So if you drive up there, you see the Whole Foods. Most people know that. We're 9.2 square miles. We go from 75.
I said yeah. Anna and McKinney, didn't I?
You did.
My mistake.
You meant Allen, probably.
I did. Sorry about that.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so tell me about the area where it's going to be. I have not seen the neighborhood. I've only seen the shots on the news. How rural are we talking?
Well, we would call it country. We are a town that has been there probably for 70 years. Our zoning went into place, and we are very unique in the way the zoning is done to some degree. About 80%, Greenville, Highway 5 runs through our town, north and south. And generally east of there, we have what's called RE1 zoning or above, rural estate, 1 acre minimum, 1.5 acre, 2 acres, 4 acres, 6 acres over there. There are no sewers. There are no storm drains. It is lots of open country, lots of trees, very, very nice. And people move into that area for the country feel. So
we're talking septic tanks and well water.
Not well water. We have city water, but
you do?
Septic tanks, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, septic tanks for sure. Now, there's no good water there. We've looked at that, actually. But on the west side, between Greenville and 75, we have our commercial area, which is we have a large shopping center there. Billingsley is coming. Our town hall is there that we use to reference the size of this the temple, the proposed temple.
Okay.
There's some multi-family dwelling there and some single families as well. But on the east side, there is no businesses. There are no multifamily. It is all large homes on large estates.
Yeah, and you can kind of get a feel for that. I'm looking at the Google Maps, just sort of zooming in and flipping around in Fairview. So this is a country setting. So you already have it zoned to where the temple doesn't fit into the existing zoning. The Mormon Church was trying to get an exception. What case were they making?
So the case that they make is that, and they're using a federal law called Orlupa, saying that somehow that if they're not able to build a building that large with a spire that high, that somehow we are restricting their ability to practice their religion as they wish. And that's the case. So that's what they have to say. What we're saying is our zoning has been in place for many decades. It's an area, the maximum height for a home in that area is 35 feet. I also want to point out that we do have 8 other religious institutions in town, one of which is a LDS meeting house, which is right next door to where they want to build the temple. The maximum height that we have offered them is called a conditional use permit. We have a church there, Sloan Creek campus of the Chase Oaks Church. It is 42 feet high. Right next to that is the LDS meeting house, and that building has a steeple that goes up to 68 feet. So what we have told the LDS folks that are planning this, that your building can go up to 42 feet with the spire going up to 68 feet. So they would be the second or equal and tall as the LDS meeting house, which is the tallest building in that area. So they would have two buildings there that are tallest in that area if they did that.
So if they were to move out to a place where the zoning restrictions were either gone or let them build the temple, how far away would they have to go?
So we have already offered them help and assistance if they would literally go across Greenville, probably a mile away at most, or maybe a mile and a half if they go up in the northern part of it. That's about far. They could probably, in that area, I mentioned Billingsley. Billingsley owns the southeast and southwest corners of US 75 and 121.
Okay, but they're not going to like that because that is some of the most expensive real estate in North Texas right now. That's a huge difference in expense for them.
Well, it may cost them more, but they'd be able to build what they want to build.
I hear you. Well, what if they go out to the country? What if they go in the other direction?
So at one point, this building was planned for Prosper, and you mentioned Anna. If they, I'd hate to push anything on anybody else, but yeah, if they went out into the country, I'm guessing that maybe nobody would have a problem with it. I don't know. That's a local matter, and would be for those towns, cities, municipalities to decide for themselves.
What do you hope the resolution is as mayor of Fairview, Henry?
So we are in it to win it. We are looking at, the win for us would be for them to conform to our zoning with the additional height that we've offered them, the conditional use permit of 44 feet high for the building, 42 feet high for the building, and 68 feet high for the steeple. And if they were to conform to that, come on. We're welcome to have you.
All right. There he is, Henry Lessner, mayor of Fairview, Texas. Thanks for being on the James Show and telling half the story on the proposed Mormon temple in your town. I appreciate it.
All right. If you need anything else, let me know.
I will. The other half of the story, we're not going to hear. We've reached out to several contacts trying to get the point of view of the Mormons. I know they're Latter-day Saints, but that's just what we all call you. Please don't be upset. I mean it with all due respect there. And they just don't want the issue to get any more publicity than absolutely necessary. They want to fly under the radar. They don't want this to be controversial. They think that doesn't help their cause, or maybe their lawyers told them to not talk to me. But coming up next, I'll give you my thoughts, because I think, generally speaking, I'm against what you just heard from the mayor, and I'm sort of on the side of the Mormons. What do you think? Should they be allowed to build a ginormous temple in a otherwise conservative, and I mean that architecturally, neighborhood? 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. The town of Fairview, just east of Allen and south of McKinney, I'll say it right this time, has a Mormon church that the population has quadrupled, and they want to build a new temple, but they don't want to just build a nice little box building. They don't want to build a 2-story building. They want to build a gigantic 65-foot tall temple with a 170-something foot architectural spire on top of it. And that violates the zoning rules for where they want to build. So they tried to get an exception. A bunch of people in the town came out against it. Where do you stand on this? Let me play you the coverage here from our sister station, WFAA. And this was their summary on it 2 days ago.
New this morning, a small North Texas town taking some action in a debate that has had some residents divided for months now.
Now, while you were sleeping, Fairview's council denied a permit request for a new temple in the area. This is all playing out minutes away from McKinney. Our Janelle Fort is live this morning there where the city council or the town council meeting went on for hours.
Yeah, largely because of the sheer amount of people on both sides of this who signed up to speak during public comment. Unsurprisingly, this meeting was packed. The issue at hand is that the Church of Jesus Christ Latter-day Saints, you may know it better as the Mormon Church, wants to build a 65-foot tall temple with a spire that reaches 173 feet high, and they want to build it in a residential area here in Fairview. For perspective, the building would sit roughly 16 stories high. The town's rules only allow for 35 feet high building in its residential districts, which is why the church applied for this special permit. Most of the opposition has been because of the aesthetics. Most residents say they don't mind the church. They just don't want it towering over the town. Here's some of what was said in last night's meeting.
Even as I try to understand why you may oppose the temple, I do not expect you to fully understand why I support my temple.
My objection is against the current plans of the LDS temple, not against the members, the faith.
Now, in the end, Fairview leaders denied the permit request, and in a unanimous vote, the LDS Church says they are disappointed, but added that this is a part of an ongoing process to get building approval, which will, quote, be continued as part of the church's religious freedom efforts.
I hope the Mormons get to build their temple. I hope they get to build a big, gigantic, beautiful temple. The concern is it's going to tower over our town. Oh, no, we may have development in our town. We may have a big building in our town. That's not the way most small town people think. You know how cool it would be to have like a tall building in the middle of your tiny little downtown? Like where my kids go to school now. We don't even have a street light. We have a 4-way stop in the middle of our town. That's our main intersection. We would love for someone to come build a 16-foot building or a 16-story building, whatever it is. But just generally speaking, I'm against zoning laws, period. It's a philosophical thing. It's one of my little annoying libertarian patterns that you'll learn to hate less and less as time goes along. But it's not a strong distaste for zoning laws because they're decided at such a low and local level. You know, if it's decided at the town level, I'm not as against it as I would be like a county-wide or a statewide or definitely not like a federal zoning law. Because it's easier to escape. If you don't want to build here, is there someplace else in town I can go? Yeah, you can go over to this more expensive land by the interstate, or you can go out somewhere more rural. But still, I'm generally speaking, I'm against zoning laws because I don't think the neighborhood should be able to come together and stop a big building from being constructed for any reason, really. Is it going to stink? Is it going to be like a landfill that you can't walk out and it ruins your land too? Oh, it's just going to be a big building. It's not going to affect you at all. Okay, so what are you worried about? Oh, my view is going to be obstructed? That's silly. We can't have any development if you're looking out in your backyard and you can see it. Great. Congratulations. You just laid out an excuse to end all development on planet Earth that is within eyesight of another human being. That's a terrible idea. I think it'd be cool to just have a giant Mormon temple, huge, sitting out in the middle of nowhere. Let's go with someone who disagrees with me. Tim in Frisco, you're next up on WBAP. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, in terms of what's going on in Fairview there. So I lived in Fairview for a number of years ago, and so I understand what they're trying to do there. And one thing you have to understand is in terms of the added commerce that you were just commenting on, Fairview, I don't think that's really a concern for Fairview because it is a half is developed, as the mayor said, quite a bit. So I think they are embracing that country feel. But in terms of this and zoning laws, I somewhat agree with you in terms of general zoning laws, but then what would prevent them or someone else from putting to your comments you just made, putting a dump next to a resident if you don't have zoning laws? So I agree that the city is doing nothing wrong. I think they gave them an exception, and the church apparently doesn't like the exception of building to the height that they were granted. So now they're trying to push it for more. I say go build somewhere else. I mean, it's they want zoning laws that are good, I think.
Yeah. So the answer to the dump thing, and the reason why I use the dump as an example is because it does have an effect on your property. It does reach past that invisible boundary of where my private property ends and your private property begins, because the smell is something that you have to.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So it was only for the smell. If it was just for the aesthetics, I wouldn't have any problem with it. So and if you have a business that's really loud, you know, like if you have if you're doing rock concerts and you go build it next to someone's house, and because your rights, your liberties to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. So I don't think the Mormon temple would violate any of those. It's not going to have a whole bunch of noise late at night. It's not going to cause any smells to be wafted over in anyone else's property. I don't see how this bothers anybody.
Yeah, well, one thing they didn't bring up was the traffic, but they're not seeing that as a concern. So that's kind of to your point. I just think that if you allow them, then who else? What else? And it could, cause other problems. But I do understand the Fairview mentality. I don't agree with all of it because when I lived there, you couldn't put certain lights in your yard. I had a 3-acre lot. You couldn't put certain lights in your yard because they wanted all the lights pointed down.
Yeah, well, as a libertarian, that makes me vomit a little in my mouth with all those rules. But
so there's
all right, Tim, I'm out of time there. Thank you very much for calling in. That's Tim in Frisco. Got some other good calls lined up. If you want to get in line, 800-288-9227. We'll continue with this next. Santana and Counting Crows are coming to Dickies Arena August 15th. I know that sounds like a long ways away. It's just a week from today. Tickets are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com. Or if you want to win a pair of tickets, text the word guitar to 800-288-9227. Guitar to 800-288-9227. It's The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. We're talking about this proposed Mormon temple in Fairview. And look, it sounds amazing. I'm not a Mormon. I'm not ever going to go to a Mormon temple. But if I got to drive past a church, I'd rather it be an architectural marvel that is 173 feet high rather than another boxy Costco-looking building. But the residents, some of them weren't fans. The city council wasn't a fan, or at least they weren't a fan enough to relax the existing zoning laws. And while generally speaking, I'm against zoning laws, that's not the reason I'm for or against this temple. I just don't like the idea of people banding together and stopping development. It sounds like a very anti-progressive thing to do. And I don't mean progressive like politically. I mean in the ability for your community to make progress. New buildings are going to have to be built, and they're going to have to be taller than the existing buildings that are built. That's what progress is. And oh man, look, if you think this place is bad, move away and then come back and you'll love it, because this is not nearly as bad as what I faced in New Orleans. It was, people would try and put a pizza place at the end of the block, and they'd be like, that's the terrible place for a pizza place. And they'd have some town meeting of their precinct or their district or their neighborhood or whatever, and get it shut down, and it would work. I was like, you'd rather have a vacant building? What do you care if someone wants to put a pizza place at the end of the block? Oh, it's not going to work there. Well, then fine, they'll go out of business. You won't have to worry about it. It's not your money. Oh, it's going to be bad on parking. Well, you don't control the street, sir. That's beyond. Anyway, I love having these discussions because I'm trying to change minds here. Let's see. Let's get back to the phones. And if you want to jump in, 800-288-9227. Let's go to Doug in Fort Worth. What do you think? You're on WBAP.
Hello. I absolutely love what I'm hearing on your show because I too am a libertarian. I don't like zoning laws. I see them as a necessary evil to, for some cases. But absolutely, I heard the mayor. I heard him gloss over that RUPLA Act, federal law, which absolutely will exempt any church from being able to do a lot of things in regards to the zoning. And Texas itself has the Texas Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And with those two things, man, that city is going to waste a lot of money fighting this.
See, I don't like the religious angle. If you were going to open a business, it should be able to have whatever building that you want, as long as you're not infringing on anyone else's property or rights or smells or sounds.
Yeah.
But
I agree with that.
But I guess the religious angle should make it even harder.
Right.
All right. Well, I don't want to talk to you. We agree. That's no fun.
No, I know. But I'm just saying, if there's any question to ask that mayor, if you ever talk to him again, ask him specifically about those laws and how is he going to fight it against those specific acts. But
all right, I will do. Thank you, Doug in Fort Worth. I appreciate you calling. Inga and Alan, you're next up on the James Show on WBAP. What do you think, Inga?
Hey there. I think that ordinances are meant to protect everyone. We may not like them, but those ordinances that protect the people who are a part of Fairview United, they actually also protect the LDS. If this was some other football stadium, that zoning in particular affects schools and churches. If it's a church that they do not agree with, it protects them from building a huge mosque. The church is misusing our LUPA to take away the rights of others. And I've got to tell you, America is built on grassroots efforts. Residents can't even come to this temple. Most LDS members cannot come to this temple. And I'm here to tell you that that temple is larger than the White House. So basically, the LDS Church wants to build larger than the White House in Fairview on land zoned for residential. Also, you know what? That temple is going to be larger than 350 yellow school buses. If you can even imagine that in a little tiny town of 11,000 people.
Hang on. You say that like it's a bad thing. Why is that a bad thing?
It's a bad thing because a religious institution can't come in and decide that they want a building whenever, wherever they want it, just because they are a religious institution.
No, but they own that property, right?
They own the property, but due to the implications that go outside of the zoning laws, which collectively keep everyone safe, and shadow studies.
No, you say they protect people and keep them safe. All I see it doing is restricting the rights of the private property owners to build whatever they want on their own property.
Laws are in place to protect everyone.
You say that, and you use the word protection, but the way you're using the word protection, you're not protecting anybody. You're restricting the freedoms of a property owner. You're not protecting anybody.
The restriction of the property owner is to stop them from restricting other property owners. If a building towers over an entire home and casts a shadow so they can't have a garden, they cannot grow their own food, they cannot have plants, that is a problem. This isn't about only aesthetics. This is about traffic. This is about a lack of transparency. This is about the amount.
This isn't about traffic or a lack of transparency. This is about a bunch of people who don't own a piece of property, but they want to be able to tell the people who do own the piece of property what they can and can't build on it. I don't think you've made a very good case. You use this word protected.
Are you aware that you live in America? We collectively have laws that keep everybody in order.
Collectively, should we? I don't think we should have collective. This isn't an individual liberty country, America, that you just cited. Not a collectivist society. It respects private property. It respects individual rights. It doesn't respect the ability for some other disinterested third party to come tell you what you can and can't do with your own property. You're not protecting anybody. You're restricting
cannot use the law to take away the rights of citizens.
You're using the law to take away their rights right now. They're just fighting back and trying to work within the system that y'all created.
Not, and their framing of their lawsuit is very flawed. It's based on opinion. They've been given generous opportunity, and they're going to lose. I hate to say it, because I know it's disappointing to you, but they're going to lose.
It is disappointing. It's disappointing that people who don't own that property can tell the property owners what they can and can build on it. That's a very collectivist mindset, and that is antithetical to the human experience. I mean, the American way of life, the whole way we set up our country to begin with.
America is not built on libertarian. I'm sorry, that's not.
No, it's actually closer to libertarian than anything else. The founding fathers were closer to what I believe philosophically than anything Team Red or Team Blue comes up with.
It doesn't sound like you're interested in anybody else that this impacts. And this isn't about a pizza place.
No, I'm not. I'm interested. I'm interested in how it. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Just I don't have a whole lot of time. I'm concerned about the interruption of a private property owner to do whatever he wants with his own private property.
This isn't a private property owner. This is a corporation that has been targeting small towns across the entire United
private
States.
mean it's not government. It's in the private sector. It's not public land.
This is the most powerful, the richest church in the United States that is throwing away their power for a school teacher that lives in land adjacent that is a veteran, okay? He is losing his investment because of a corporation that is coming in and taking away the value of someone's life savings because they want to break the law.
That doesn't make any sense. How is he losing his life savings?
Because we have had testimony on record from real estate agents that have stated that it will drastically diminish the value. They want people to sell their homes so LDS can move in. That is not very, that's narrowing it down to one demographic of people that can live in this city. Anybody has the right to come live in this city, and they should feel the freedom to have when they purchase a property, they look at the zoning, they're buying it with information, knowing what can and cannot go around them. If somebody comes in and thinks they're above the law, they are taking away that person's what they believe they were doing in that.
No, now it sounds like, hey, if this private property owner is going to be screwed out of their liberties and their freedom to do whatever they want with their private property, that should apply to everybody equally. How about we just stop screwing people and tell them what they can do with their private property?
I think we're going to disagree. You're looking at this as a church as an
But you did a great job,
Inga. It's a corporation to me. Okay.
Inga, I thought you did a great job defending your points. Thank you for calling in the James Show. I know it's not easy when you disagree with the host, so I try and be nice. I hope you don't think I was rude or anything.
Not at all. I was matching your energy there. You have a great day.
Thank you. See, she was great. 800-288-9227. We'll continue with this next on the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to the James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. There's a proposed Mormon temple for Fairview, which is over by Allen and McKinney. It doesn't fit in the current zoning. They tried to get an exception. A bunch of people aren't too happy with it and fighting against it. Where do you stand on that? Now, generally speaking, I hope I don't annoy you with my libertarian BS all the time, but I don't like zoning laws to begin with, so you probably know where I stand just based on that. But even if, in the absence of zoning laws, how do you feel about this? 800-288-9227. Terry and Bonham, you're next up on WBAP. Go.
Yes, sir. I was just give you a little history on that building site. It used to be a horse pasture, and the Mormons wanted to buy that property, but they couldn't do it because the owner didn't want to sell it to them. And then a member bought it from the property owner, and then he sold it to the Mormons. And then I had to go. Used to work for the church, and I had to go and get the horses before they built the building and corralled them up so they can start building it. And the steeple on that building on the meeting house, they gave them heck about it because of the light on the steeple. They didn't want it shining. But there wasn't anything around there because it was just, like I said, it was just a bunch of horses over there. And now the property value over there, people started buying houses and they built another church right next to it, and that went up pretty quick. But the Mormon church took a while.
Well, you sound like you have some inside info here. What do I not know that I need to know about this situation? Is there some inside info you're bringing to the table here?
Well, it's just that I think it's just because it's the Mormons, and that building that they're going to build is, if you look at the history of all the temples, they're huge, and it's just going to make that Fairview a lot bigger and stronger. But
I don't
know if it's.
I don't get it. I really don't get. I don't get the argument against it at all. Because when I go look at this place on Google Maps, this is, I don't want to say the middle of nowhere, because it's well within the country's fourth largest metropolitan area. But this isn't going to be disturbing a bunch of people. I don't know. This is, where else would you put it? I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I don't get it.
Why wouldn't you want to put it there? It's right next to a road.
All right, I need to talk to people that disagree. I hear you.
I'm sorry.
I know. No, that's all right. That's all right.
But I'm just trying to get some people that don't disagree to agree that they do need to put it there.
Okay, I'll find. Look, here's I think a disagreement right here. Robert and Bonham, you're on WBAP. Tell me you disagree with me and why.
I do disagree, but by disagreeing, I'm disagreeing with just the fact that the rules are there. Look, I don't like paying taxes, but I'm going to pay taxes because that's the rules that are there, and I choose to pay them based on I'm choosing to stay here in America or wherever I'm being, and I'm choosing that tax rate.
Yeah,
I don't have to choose to live here. So those same places, if the zoning laws are already in place, then handle it a little differently. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the church. Go and try to get votes to try to change the zoning laws to actually achieve what they want to do, rather than just force it through.
Well, I think they are following the rules, because this is what you have to do. Once there's ridiculous zoning in a town, then you have to go get exceptions to build anything big, and that's what everyone else does. The first strip mall that goes into what was previously a residential zone, if someone gets an exception for that, and the people that get ahead are the ones that get the exceptions. The people that are really the big movers and shakers are the ones that get the exception. We're chumps. The rest of us that just follow the law as they're written, and well, I better play by the rules. That's not how people get ahead. That's not how big business grows. That's not how real estate development gets ahead. And I don't blame them for fighting against it.
I agree, but with that point, but I don't necessarily agree with the exceptions or whatever, because that's not taken on. Again, I moved to a certain place, and those rules that are in there, I understand them, and I want to make sure that other people understand them, and I moved there because of that. Now, in my situation, I actually moved away. I went out to the country. I didn't like the rules of where I was at.
Yeah.
So what did I turn around and do? I said, forget it. I'm going to go move out to the country where there are no rules, and I can do what I want. But while I was there, I sure heck appreciated not having some neighbor decide to paint their entire house purple and kill it for me in the future, just from trying to sell my house, because no one's going to want to buy a house right next to somebody else who's got a house that's totally purple or totally whatever. So those rules are in place, but I don't think fighting them is. I don't agree with necessarily just trying to change it. Okay, just try to make it to where you're.
So you don't want them to get an exception. You want them to change the rule for everybody if they're going to play like that. I get it. I got your point.
Rule for everyone, but that needs to go up to the town for a vote. It doesn't just need to be 5 people on whatever board saying, okay, we're going to change this for everybody.
All right.
No, why do the people live there? And will they accept it?
Yeah. Well, look, now you're getting into the point where I don't think everyone should get a vote on what I do with my private property. That's very communal. It's private property. It's not public property. We can all get together and vote on what happens to public lands or city parks or city hall or something, but I don't know if I even agree with that philosophically. Gene in Willow Park. Am I saying that right? You're on the James Show on WBAP. What do you think, Gene?
Well, I disagree with you because I'm not sure that you didn't make an arbitrary decision that the zoning they have in place is itself arbitrary. I was on my own city council for 7 terms, and we had for years a restriction you couldn't build more than 2 stories high, okay? And the reason for that is we could not guarantee putting a fire out on a structure that was larger than that. So there may be some underlying rationale for why they have what they have in place. And I would guess that there's some zoning restrictions that the Mormons would not want to have changed. Like if they get their church built, would they want a XXX adult store to open up next door? Any thoughts?
I think that would be a hilarious experiment to see, because that's what happened to the Westboro Baptist Church. You know, there's a lot of people who didn't like them, but you can't do anything about them on their own private property and what they do with their private property. But they did open up some like LGBT house across the street, and they painted it like a rainbow right across the street from the Westboro Baptist Church. So there is precedent for that. And if you want to, put your thumb in the eye of the Mormon church, that's what you need to do. You need to go get your own private property next to them, and you can do whatever you want with your private property and let the Mormons do whatever they want to do with their private property. If they want to build a big temple that's too tall for the fire department or whatever, that's just between them and probably their property and insurance coverage. But yeah.
My main point was that if they'll give an exception for a height variance, somebody else could come in and do something similar, which then starts putting a strain on the city to be able to provide services. And so the city really has to protect itself.
Yeah, I disagree. Look, if you want to build a building that is beyond the services protection ability of the firefighters, that's on you. That's going to be, you're the one that's going to have to pay for it if it burns down, and you're the one that's going to take the loss. That's sounds like your problem, not an our problem. Sorry, we're out of time here on that one. This is the James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.